Hello and welcome to Grumpy Old Crone with me, Annie, where I am going to be grumbling about things, whinging about things that don't matter very much in the witchcraft and pagan community for about 30 minutes, give or take. Now, the first thing that I wanted to talk about today falls under my existing whilst witchy kind of overarching umbrella, and that is about kind of tangentially about herb drying. Now, my garden, it's the 1st of August today, and my garden is growing like crazy. You can tell it's Lammas. We finally had some rain, and the rain combined with the heat that we've had means that everything is just going so I thought I needed to harvest some of my herbs so that they weren't wasted. Particularly, I want to harvest my mugwort. I like hugwort, that'd be quite nice. But anyway, my mugwort, which I finally got to grow after 3 years of trying. Why, when it's a weed everywhere else, I cannot grow it in my own backyard? I don't know, but I finally got it sorted and it's going crazy. So I thought I want to dry that because I use it energetically and I also want to do some lucid dreaming with it. So it needs to be dried out so I can use it as a tea. Now, I do have an electric dehydrator, which is a useful thing. However, it's a bit of a cheap one, so you can't really set the temperature on it, so it can get a bit over enthusiastic at times. And also, it's electric, so you know, it's using energy that I'd rather not use. I'd rather do this stuff naturally. So I thought what I would do is I would buy myself one of those, you know, like those little fabric herb dryers that you can hang up. And I thought, I've got a shed outside with like a big glass window, so I thought I'll hang it in there and then it will naturally dry out. It won't get in the way, it won't take up work surface space in my kitchen or my still room. So we'll give that a go. And so what I did, because I'm not using Amazon at the moment, I really dislike Amazon for various reasons, which we won't go into now, but I'm trying not to use them whenever possible. I think since the beginning of this year, I've used them twice for things that just weren't available anywhere else. But I bought this from eBay. I went to an individual buyer, like an actual person on eBay, and I bought this. It's a little herb dryer. And when it arrived, I thought that's going to be like the perfect size. Now the problem with eBay, and this is my tip for you, is always check sizes. Now I'm used to people complaining about buying things on like Temu or Wish, which, you know, you order a sofa and you get like a doll's couch from a doll's house or something. You know, everything's always smaller. And so I looked at this and I thought, is this going to be like a bit too small? But I thought, well, you know, if it's that size and it's meant to have like, I think 3 shelves on it, I thought then I can still use that because I can like shuffle the stuff around. I thought that'd be fine. It'll just go in the corner of the shed. It'll be fine. So then I thought I will open it. You know, how small is this thing going to be? I thought, so I got it out of the bag. Great, there it is. Perfect. And I thought, oh, it looks like one of those, you know, those tents, those pop-up tents. So I thought, oh, maybe it's going to come up a little bit bigger. This is good, I thought, not a Temu purchase. So I took off, as I'm doing, the little elastic bands that hold it on. And I thought, well, let's see what it's like. You'll notice I'm moving back because what then happened was that. That's what happened. Look at the size of it. Look at it. It's mahoosive. I could probably live in that myself. If I'd got a family of hedgehogs, they would fit just perfectly, although they might get stuck. So it is, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 shelves high, and each shelf is like vast. I don't know where I'm going to put it. So my witchy tip for you today is check the sizes of things that you're going to buy and don't always assume that they're going to be too small, because sometimes it's like a multi-storey car park for hedgehogs. It's just huge. I could get at least 10 hedgehogs in every layer of that. That's now going to be my general way to measure the size of things. How many hedgehogs can I fit in So that's huge. Jolly good job it's going out in the shed, because if that went in my still room, I think we would knock it off every single time we walk past it to go to the bathroom. So there we go. Way too big. Insane. Whoops. Buyer's regret. Should have checked the sizes. But, you know, I'll still use it. Thankfully, I do have a lot of mugwort. But, yeah, and I've got to say, it's the explosion with which it opened. The first time I tried it, it got me in the throat. It was like a vampire herb dryer. And I can only tell you that from experience, this is going to take me maybe 20 minutes and 2 gins to get back in that bag. So, hey-ho. Anyway, let's move on, shall we? And let's move on to the meat and 2 potatoes of today. So, looking back on the channel recently, I realised I've been in far too good a mood. I've been nice about things. I haven't been nearly grumpy enough, and I can only apologise. I don't really know how this has happened, and I can only promise that it will not be happening today. Now, as I get older, I realise that time is turning into a bit of an enemy. I remember my mum telling me not to wish my days away, but to enjoy them all, which is the kind of completely unwanted advice that adults give to 8-year-olds who are just desperate to be 9. Needless to say, didn't pay much attention to her because, you know, that's the programming of the average child, I guess. But there's a saying that I really love, and I've been thinking about it a lot recently, and it goes like this. The older I get, the more intelligent my mother becomes. And it's almost painfully true. My lovely mum died 9 years ago, sadly, and I miss her every single day. She was funny, and she was clever, and she was delightfully irreverent. And she took life on her own terms right up until her very last day. And much as I hate to say it, she was 100% right about not wishing my life away. My day job involves working in kind of pseudo terms. I don't work in a school, but I've learned over the years that it's a very good idea to take a break over the summer, because otherwise I just burn out. So I tend to wind up my work midway through July, and then I take a break until the beginning of September when I get going again. And as a self-employed person, I'm really lucky that I can make my own hours like that. The slight problem is that I'm one of those very annoying yes people. When somebody asks me to do something, I have a terrible tendency to say yes first and then worry about the how part later. I also view everything I'm asked to do as more important than the last thing I was asked to do, right up until a new thing comes in, which is also and coincidentally the most important thing, which inevitably leads to a diary that is just chock-a-block full of very important things that cannot possibly be cancelled. And this is not good for my mental health. I have been wishing away my day job so that I could get to my lovely 5-week break, but now that I'm actually on my lovely 5-week break, I realise that I've used that time off to schedule doing all the things that I can't fit into the weeks when I'm working. Whoops. And before you say, but Annie, why don't you just cancel some of these things? I will say that I cancelled one event this year for mental health reasons. It was 2 months ago, and I still feel guilty about it. I can't walk past the place where the event organiser works because I feel so bad about it. The guilt. So I'm looking down the barrel of another 4 weeks of doing way too much. For example, yesterday my daughter and I went off to go and give a talk to a Women's Institute meeting about steampunk costuming and cosplay. I thought it sounded fun when I booked it, but I had somehow completely forgotten that I would need to spend quite a bit of time scripting the talk and collaborating with my daughter about costume items that would need to be transported and set up in the event place. I started scripting like 3 days before, and I finished just before breakfast that morning, and then I had to go on and I had to start thinking about this video because I realised that I've got my best friend coming over for this weekend and another concert booked on the Sunday. I've got to film, edit, publish and do my Patreon stuff, and I have less than 36 hours to do it all, and I'm supposed to be sleeping somewhere in there as well. I've managed to book events into every single weekend in August. This was meant to be my time off. I'm literally working harder doing my time off than I do when I'm actually earning money. So Basically, I'm quite grumpy about this. I mean, I'm mostly grumpy about the fact that I can't blame anybody except myself, really. I'd love to be able to point to another person and say, them, it's their fault, but I can't. I'm in control of my own diary and I screwed it up big time. Oh well, bugger. So I'm not going to be cheerful and happy today. I'm going to be properly grumpy because despite the sun shining, I like the shining sun, and the birds tweeting, also a big fan of Tweety birds, I can't go outside and run around or catch up on my reading because I'm an idiot who still can't say no after 55 years of trying. So what am I grumpy about today, dear cronies? I am very, very grumpy about this. Now, in case your eyes are refusing to accept what they're seeing, allow me to explain. There appears to be a group, organisation, company, I don't know what they reckon they are really, but they have called themselves Wicca Academy. Yeah, I looked them up on Reddit because, as we all know, all the good stuff is always on Reddit, let's be honest, and I feel that another user there completely nailed it when they called them half-assed Hogwarts. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want it to be associated with 100% assed Hogwarts because that would just be teaching people to say weird phrases in pig Latin whilst being transphobic. But anyway, apparently this is the place to go to when you want to be certified as a Wiccan. Because we don't want uncertified Wiccans running around out there now, do we? Imagine the chaos. Asking people for their certificates before they were allowed to buy incense and they cannot produce them. Uncertified incense burning all over the place. People calling the quarters willy-nilly anywhere. How would the evangelical Christians know who to hate? I mean, actually, forget that last bit. Evangelical Christians will hate everyone regardless of their certified status, I feel. But they are actually equal opportunity haters, aren't they? Which reminds me, somebody tried to convert me yesterday as I walked home from buying cough syrup. He held up a leaflet that said, "You would be happier in the kingdom of God," and asked me if I considered joining him at a service on Sunday. I mean, it might have been the worst pickup line ever, but as I'm married to a great big hairy sword-wielding pagan, it was never going to fall on very fertile ground. But come to think of it, Mr. Grumpy Old Crone isn't certified either. Blimey. I should probably have asked for his certificate before getting hand-fasted, shouldn't I? What a fool I am. Anyway, hand-fasted until the end of our days to an uncertified pagan person. Oh my gods, what shall I do? Anyway, the Christian bloke looked slightly upset when I laughed very loudly at him and said no. I don't think he's used to having people laughing at him very much. Personally, I think laughter is the best weapon in these situations. I think he might have cried if I'd given him the full barrel of, "Would you like to hear about the goddess? Naked dancing, lots of mead, some minor spirit summoning, and a guaranteed bonk on May the 1st every year." I could have offered him a certificate and everything. Sorry, anyway, digression. Back to Wicca Academy. Right, so, interestingly, it would appear that nowhere on the site does it state what kind of Wicca they claim to be teaching. Also, and I am prepared to be corrected on this, none of their teaching materials seem to figure real faces or real voices. It's all Canva. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Canva. I use it for my thumbnails as I'm a graphic design moron. But it was also full of AI voices, and any teaching organisation that releases a video entitled, and I, you not, see these quotes, "Unleash the magic with these enchanting witchy names for your furry friends." I mean, frankly, deserves to go and sit in the corner and think about what they've reduced a beautiful, powerful system of energetic manipulation and spiritual thinking to. Answer, bollocks. Apparently, according to their advert here, your coven is calling. Is it? Is it really? And when you say coven, do you mean close-knit group of 13 or less people working energetically together to support and contribute to learning and practicing Wicca and or witchcraft? Or do you mean whoever logs into our Discord server on a Wednesday afternoon between 2 and 2:20 p.m. and rambles incoherently about the price of candles? Because I'm guessing the second, personally. Is it monetizing people's deep and abiding need to belong to something that echoes how alone they feel in a world that's gone mad and is working really, really hard on excluding them from literally everything worthwhile and life-sustaining? Yes, it bloody well is. And I hate that with the power of 1,000 dying suns. Don't try to charge us money for wanting to be part of something beautiful and empowering. That's really, really shit. I hate it. The advert says $5 to become a member of a coven. Now, to a lot of people, that might seem very tempting. $5 isn't that much. It's a fancy coffee or a nice magazine, I guess. I mean, my guess is maybe off here as I haven't been to the States for a while due to the paedophile what's it in charge over there, but you know what I mean. $5. That's a suitably small amount, and it has been reduced from $39, so it's a money-off bargain. Until you start poking around the site and you discover that if you want to be a member of their coven, get your fancy schmancy certificate and not get turfed out after a year, then it's actually $333, which is a lot of very fancy coffee and at least 17 brand new sexy volumes of very trustworthy information from Troy Books. They publish Gemma Gary and Nigel Pearson. I love them. And what do you get in exchange for your $333, which is a random ass number, don't you think? Almost like the amount has absolutely nothing to do with how much it costs to produce and is just a profit figure plucked out of the air at random. Well, anyway, what you get is 85 lessons. And the lessons are, as far as I can see, without giving them a bloody red cent of my money, 15 minutes or less videos of basic AI generated information scraped from some sources on the internet. Some of the information is adequate. Some of it is laughable. Sources do not appear to be mentioned for anything. So when you get your certificate, which is apparently useful if you want to join another coven, apparently, and that's what they said, I'd love to be a fly on the wall watching an actual third-degree priestess being presented with a certificate in expectation of immediate recognition of years of study and practice. Sorry. Sorry, as I was saying, when you get your certificate, you have no idea what kind of Wicca you have been training in. And I say that with the biggest quotation marks, what kind of Wicca you've been training in. Are you a Gardnerian Wiccan, Alexandrian, Sayax? Do you know the difference? Will you feel like a complete idiot and very, very humbled if another Wiccan tries to have a conversation with you about this? It's like claiming to be a Christian, but not knowing the difference between being a Protestant or being a Catholic. So yes, you need to know this stuff if you take it as your religion. That, which also reminds me, they are promoting it as Wicca, but also promoting you finding a deity from any of the popular world pantheons. What about the goddess and the god? How is that one squared in people's heads? I don't understand. For what it's worth, I'm not making judgments about how people choose to worship and what deity they feel called by. That's deeply personal. Somebody in a video comment a while back called my worship of Gaia Hellenistic. No, it's not. But I'm not wildly interested in arguing about how and why I worship the way I do and how I feel about other people's practices. It's enough for me, and that's all there is to it. Buy me a cider, sit me around a campfire, and ask me then. I'll talk for England. But I simply don't have enough time to answer comments anymore. I try, I really do, but as noted previously, I'm a serial overcommitter and sometimes time just gets away from me, so I'm sorry about that. Digression, sorry. Anyway, you're all here for the digressions, aren't you? Yeah, I should start a sweepstake over on Patreon for how many digressions I'll make in any one week. Interesting. Anyway, as far as I can see, without signing up for this shameless money grab of scraped AI rubbish, there is no differentiation between differing schools of Wicca. They do mention voodoo and brujeria in the same sentence during a couple of their publicly available videos, which I find very concerning. These are not the same things at all. And if I were to claim to a bruja that I know all about their practice whilst trotting out Gardnerian Wicca beliefs, then I think I could probably expect them to either slap me, ignore me, or laugh in my face, depending on how charitable they were feeling on any given day. These people are expecting you to sign up and to pay them $333 for the honour of watching this AI tosh. Honestly, for just 20 quid, you could buy a decent book that will tell you all of this. And remember that not everyone can be part of a coven. Many people live in places where they're not available or, and I imagine this is increasingly the case in the US, covens are closing their doors because it doesn't feel safe to be public anymore. Maybe what you believe doesn't fall into step with a coven. Just because you crave that connection within your craft, it doesn't give someone else the right to monetize your desire for community. That is just horrible. Which brings me to the final point in this section. And I realise that this is going to be a slightly difficult path to negotiate, but me being me, I'm just going to come straight out and say it and probably offend a whole lot of people as I do so. Sorry about that. But don't trust people who want to profit from teaching you any form of religious belief or magical practice. Now, I'm primarily talking about paganism, Wicca, witchcraft, heathenry here, but the more I think about it, the more I think it applies across the board. People who want to sell you a belief miss the fact that you can't buy belief. You can buy tacit acceptance into a community, which is exactly what the Christian church has done for centuries with the concept of tithing. But really, it's a bit shit, isn't it? The concept of community should not be based on one's monetary worth, because everyone has a worth and it's not always money, is it? Some people are great listeners or really enjoy babysitting or throw the best parties. It's not about money. It shouldn't be about money, but these bloody people make it that way and I hate it. And the thing that I really, really hate is that these people are monetizing people's desire to belong and longing for something beautiful and magical in their lives. These people use AI to make a few videos. I mean, honestly, I think you could probably create a course like that with AI in like half a day to a day tops, and then market them aggressively to people who are looking for meaning and often vulnerable in that search. I hate it. Don't take money from seekers. Help them. Point them on the way. If you don't have the time or the knowledge to teach, that's fine. Don't. But also, don't take money for something that you don't understand or practice yourself. If you believe something, then you don't need to buy that belief. It is something that happens in your own head and your own heart. If you want to learn how to conduct yourself in a ritual, that's a different matter. And yes, you probably do need some input to learn how to do that. But honestly, you shouldn't be paying somebody for that. And certainly not enough for them to be able to make a healthy profit. When I and most of my fellow crones were growing up and coming into the craft, teaching was free. You found a group, joined a group, and the most you were expected to contribute was kind of like the cakes and wine every couple of months. Your tuition was the cost of the tuition of the people teaching you. In other words, everyone learns for free, everyone teaches for free. Chipping in for venues, firewood and other little sundries is fine. But did you have a responsibility to make sure that your priest and priestess could get a nice holiday to Faliraki every year? No, you most definitely did not. Who expected to give them hundreds of pounds a year? No, I'm actually fine with compensating people for the time they spend doing something. I've always costed my tarot readings in accordance with the time that I would otherwise spend working at my day job. Most of my readings take around an hour a job, an hour or so. So I would charge what I would charge for an hour of work in my day job to an individual. I've been told repeatedly that it's probably not enough, but it works for me and I'm still happy seeing myself in the mirror every day. I very, very rarely do magic for anybody else. And if I do not charge anything for it. Someone once brought me a poinsettia for doing curse removal. I bloody love that. That worked very nicely for me. A bit of cake works too. I'm aware it's quite granny weatherwax, but it works well energetically, which is precisely why Terry wrote it that way. Now, once again, I'm aware that there are going to be cries of hypocrite, because yes, I do make a little bit of money off of this channel. If you watch an advert, and I do offer extra content over on Patreon where people pay me. I'm not AI scraping to do it though. And the community aspect of my Patreon is 100% free. I don't charge a damn penny for the community chat function over there. Per hour, what I put into this YouTube channel, I'm probably coming out a little bit over minimum wage. And honestly, I'm super grateful for that. I love what I do. I'm working on more teaching videos here on YouTube, which will not be charged for. I do not, sadly, offer, and I know you're going to be very sad about this, a fancy schmancy certificate. I encourage you to do some gluing and sticking and create something suitably mad for your own certificates. In fact, if you fancy it, do that, take a picture and put it up on the community pages over on Patreon. I would bloody love to see that. And before you ask, yes, I am a member of a coven, and yes, I do teach there for free in exactly the same way that I was taught in my own way. I practice what I believe. Right, I feel a bit better after that rant. Thank you for staying. In return for you managing to stay through that quite long rant, I'm now going to move on to the positive bit. Here comes the positive bit. This positive bit only came through while I was researching and writing the meat and two potatoes rant that I've just done. A friend who I met at a pagan camp a few years back now messaged me about an hour ago to tell me that despite the fact that she lives down south, she has just booked a ticket to go and watch the Wicker-Man sing-along. And she's booked it in a theatre about an hour from my house, and even closer to the house of another of our dear and oh so very mad friends. Hello, Sarah. Hello, Alex. So we're all going to go together. Now, if you have not experienced the wonder and madness that is the Wicker-Man sing-along, I'm going to explain it this way. Pagan Rocky Horror Picture Show with costumes, props and songs throughout. You get a bag of goodies. The promo video suggests novelty edible foreskins might be among them. Quite excited. And a pagan hymn book along with cue cards telling you when to sway and when to do the gestures for various songs. I particularly like the card that says start orgy now. Looking forward to that one, I can tell you. I have long wanted to go to one of these, and my friend, thank you Sarah, found one near us. It's going to be completely insane, and I have a month to plan a really good costume. What do you think? I did suggest a flesh-coloured jumpsuit and a bad blonde wig to be Willow, the landlord's daughter. If you've never seen The Wicker Man, this positive section is going to mean nothing to you, but I really recommend going and watching it. It's a film from 1973, and it's a film that splits people right down the Christian and pagan kind of fault line down the middle, because if you're a Christian you think it's a horror film, if you're pagan you think it's a happy sing-along musical with a happy ending. So you can guess which side I'm on, right then? Yeah, anyway, so the idea is that you go in a costume based on something from the film. Now, there is a bit in which Britt Ekland gets her kecks off and starts drumming on the wall and singing, attempting to tempt Edward Woodward into her room. And I thought that might be quite funny because I'm 55 and not Britt Ekland. But then I realised that if I had a flesh-coloured suit and a bad blonde wig, I'd look like a badly stuffed sausage. So I'm not entirely sure about that. I'm still on the fence. Anyway, I am currently extremely excited about this in the sort of way that not many of my friends will really understand. My own particular flavour of neurospiciness involves repeatedly experiencing bits of media until I know them backwards. I can join in at any point. Probably outing myself a bit too much when I say that I gave up counting how many times I had watched the Rocky Horror Picture Show after the 350th time. I had a super worn out VHS recording, and a very tolerant mother is all I can say on that matter. But this is going to be majestically silly and pagan and with friends. I can't wait. It's going to be amazing. Right, anyway, I'm off to go and plan a costume now, and I hope to see all of you next week. Bye!